And drum roll, we're live. All right, so good morning, good day, everyone watching. Today, our session will be a science session, and we'll be talking about ecosystems. Now, ecosystems is how all components of the environment react with each other, both living and non-living components of the ecosystem. And today we'll be talking about how energy flows with them. And we use two models to display how energy flow. There's two ways of showing how energy flow. The first one is a chain. The first one is a food chain. And the other one, the more complex one, is a food web. Now, a food chain is a linear A food chain is a linear network. That means it's a line. Linear is referring to a line. So it's a single line of how energy flows in the ecosystem. So it's going in one direction, right? And it shows how energy is consumed from the producer straight up to the apex predator. So what normally produces energy is organisms such as through a process called photosynthesis. The plant, this is the energy source. The sun is the energy source, and the plant is the producer of that energy through a process called photosynthesis. So that you have the sun or light, which could be like grass or algae. And after that, there is the primary consumer, which would be like your herbivores. No, herbivores are animals that eat plants only eat vegetables. So they are like vegans or vegetarians. They don't eat meat at all. These primary consumers are herbivores. And then there are secondary consumers, which are these are eat the herbivores, they eat meat. Now, examples of the depiction of this, and you can draw all these aspects in names and diagrams. So, smiley faces on sun. So we're not putting a smiley face on this one this morning, right? And the sun's energy through photosynthesis is absorbed by the grass. And this is how I represent grass right here. So it goes to the grass, and you can label all it to the sun. And for example, grass, when we're making our food chain. So we have the sun, and we have the grass. And then we have what eat grass. Animal could be right here. We're gonna put a cow right here. So we're gonna draw a nice barnyard cow right here. This is not actually a cow. This is a bull with horns. A cow has udders. Cow is the female part. So we have the sun and the grass. We have cattle, which is the bull. This is the herbivore, which is the cattle. Then the secondary consumer would be what could eat a cow. It would be a carnivore to eat meat. It could be a wolf. It could be a lion. It could be a bear. But for this example, we're gonna use a lion. Okay. So then we're gonna put the lion here. And it's a lion here. So this is the way energy is transferred through an ecosystem. First, with light energy, it could be the sunlight or it could be artificial light, as in a greenhouse, which the grass or other plant absorb through a process called photosynthesis. That's the way plants use light energy to make food. Then the primary consumer, which is a herbivore, will consume this grass or plant producer for the energy. And because the secondary consumer, which is the carnivore, can't eat the grass because their digestive system is not designed. And that's the basic way a food chain is being depicted. Now, a food chain is just a singular link to web, which is slightly more higher level for the purposes of those that aren't doing advanced elementary. A food web is just uh, a group of food chains within the ecosystem. So you basically displaying the entire right. So it would be like the sun is here. As well as what else goes to eat. Let's use uh, other things such as other plants, grass, trees, shrubs. And after that, it gets a bit more complicated because you have a goat, a cow, a horse, and the goat will eat the trees, but the goat will eat the grass. The cow will also eat the grass. The horse will also eat the grass. The most of them will eat the shrubs as well. So it's interlocking. So you have more than one link. So the horse could probably eat something of the trees like apples as well as they will eat the grass and the shrubs. But the goat might just eat the grass. And then it go eat the goat, the cow, the horse, and then would have a lot. Then the wolf would eat the cow, the goat, and the horse. And then it can even get more complicated with where there's a lion, which would be the apex predator. This apex predator would eat the goat, the cow, is weak. So the apex predator is at the top of the food chain. So it's the web is kind of more interlapping food chains basically. You just want to know where the energy flows and where to. What's important is knowing where the energy flows and where to connect linkages along the path where the energy flows. And this can also be done for aquatic environments. Simple example of that is using the same light source, which is the sun, and Plants in the marine ecosystem, such as plankton, phytoplankton, algae, they would go through the same process of photosynthesis, and these phytoplankton and algae would be consumed by small fishes or small fish, crustaceans, which would be consumed, the food web is expanded by larger fish, which would be a shark or a killer whale, which is called an orca. And this is the apex predator of this ecosystem. And the way this all falls apart is due to human activity. When humans consume shark meat or engage in poaching of whales for entertainment, this the same impact human has on the terrestrial ecosystem. That's the one on land where they hunt lions for fun for game. So this can make all this crumble. What happens when the sharks and whales are excluded from the ecosystem? When there's no sharks and whales to consume large fish, what will happen is the large fish number will explode. You get too much. You have too much large fish because there's no natural predator. If there are too many large fishes, then they would have to compete for small fish. So they would die out because there would be no small fish because they would be over consuming small fish. And if there's less small fish, the plankton and algae will be too much, and that will cause pollution called algae bloom. Some people say eutrophication. All of this will make it bad for the remainder of the animals in the water because they will be fed with too much nutrients within the water and probably too much oxygen, and it will cause them to suffocate in the marine ecosystem. And a similar thing happens on land. If there are no natural predators for herbivores, then the population will get out of hand and they will consume too much plant, and it cause deforestation. Like practices such as overfarming cause deforestation, and it affects our ecosystems, and that's